My name's Courtney, and I'm the co-founder of Jammy, which is a discount card online marketplace and platform that champions Black-owned businesses like yourselves. So if it's your first time joining us today, this is Geared for Growth, which is a monthly masterclass series equipping Black business owners with the tools to really thrive. And we're running this in partnership with Lloyds Bank. So this masterclass is called Master Your Workflow because it's all about building your business operations to be slick and save you money and save you time as well. So we've got Rohan Inneh joining us, who is an operations expert and fractional COO. So he's really got lots of expertise, and I really think it's going to be a really good session. This class has been recorded, and you can catch up if you miss anything in the next few days. We'll be uploading it. We also have a bank of all of our previous recordings on growwithjammy.com. So that should be on the screen right now. You can find all previous recordings dating back to May, and also a few blog posts as well, and other resources to really help you in your business journey. So enough from me, over to you, Rohan.
Thank you. All right, so let me share my screen. 1 second. And then just let me know if you can see that. Cool. I'm going to assume you can see that, or let me know in the chat if you can see my screen.
We can't see it just yet.
Okay, let's try again. Technology has already started.
Oh, I can see it now. Hope everyone else can see it.
Yeah, let's just try one. Cool. Now, yep, okay, cool. I can see it. Great. All right. First of all, thank you everyone for giving up your evenings to hear me speak. Like, I don't take this stuff for granted. Genuinely humbled, and generally have a desire to like ensure that all of you walk away with value, ensure that all of you walk away with at least like one thing that can help you along on your business journey. And another reason why I am humbled is because, I remember so much when I was in my 9 to 5, and I was just like trying to figure out like, what was the thing I was going to do to take me out of it, and like what was going to be my business. And it's just been such a long journey. And then when you get these kind of like 360 moments where, I'm now facilitating sessions that like I would have been part of, like I'm just, yeah, I'm so grateful. And genuinely my hope and ambition and desire is to ensure all of you get great value out of this. So, so as you know, the session's on Master Your Workflow. What we're going to talk about is one, operations, but the first thing, like, why do we want to focus on operational efficiency, right? And it's because all of us as small business owners, and I still class myself in that, is we're doing like 1,000 things, like all at the same time, all with limited resources, all with tight deadlines, and things can be quite to the line, like month on month, week on week. So the key aspect of operational efficiency is getting the most out of every input that you make, like trying to turn a 1 into 3, into a 5, into a 10 as many times over until you can really start to get to that point where you can onboard teams and you can start to scale up and grow and have a larger business that allows you to kind of step out of it. So in terms of what we're going to learn today, I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about like what operations actually is, because there's a lot of misconceptions around it, how it drives sustainable growth, and the key word is sustainability in there. Then I'm going to give you some strategies to master like effective workflows. I'm going to talk about a few useful automations that you can use, have a discussion around like when is it good to outsource, and what are the kind of key things you need to consider when you're moving to wholesale operations. So a bit about me, who am I? I always make a point to say like I'm a Christian first, I'm a man of faith. It dictates everything I do, and it's why I am the way I am. I like playing basketball. I need to play more of it because the dad belly is coming for me. As you can see, I've got a family in the bottom picture there, and yeah, the dad belly, I'll just leave it at that. I grew up in South London, so Oaken Road and Peckham. I like watching my anime, and I play the saxophone, trying to teach myself how to DJ, and like recently added another thing to try and teach myself how to play the keys as well. And I find that amongst a lot of operational people that we love to just pick up things, because I think there's something in us that basically allows us to understand how things work and want to see if we can truly put ourselves to the test. So I think it's a good trait. And if you find yourself like loving to pick up new things, you might actually be an operational person at heart, which is a fun thing I've seen. So a bit about me. I run a boutique operations consultancy. So I focus on helping consumer and media brands to grow sustainably without breaking the business. I do it across beauty, wellness, fitness, and digi health and music as well. And my main focus areas are improving performance, supporting on mergers and acquisitions and exits. So either getting businesses ready to exit, or helping investors like private equity firms or VC firms to do operational due diligence, or if an acquisition has happened, doing the planning, like the post-acquisition integration planning, such a mouthful, after that happens. The integrated operations piece is just about me being a fractional COO. So rather than just being an advisor or a consultant, as the FCO, I will onboard into the business and take up that kind of like part-time operational leadership and really work hand in hand with the client to, get to where they want to get to. So next up, who have I worked with? So from a corporate angle, I spent about 7 years working at like large corporate firms such as Ernst & Young, Deloitte and Capgemini, and through those bodies, I've worked with like Team GB, like when I was going to the Tokyo Olympics, worked at HSBC, Student Loans Company, the NHS, like in a few governmental departments. Also, I've worked with a few brands in the scale-up space, like Treasure Tress, Boholux, Beard Surgeon, who would probably like spotted you at Stratford and tried to sell you some of the beard oils. Wings Music Group, which is a Christian music label. Black Valley, Swing Fitness, like diverse. So a few people here and there. So I've been around both the corporate and scale-up space. So for today, I wanted to start talking about, well, what is operations, right? And I really wanted to make the point that it's not just processes and it's not just stuff. The reason I said stuff is because I feel like sometimes people can class operations as everything that is not marketing, sales, or finance, right? And there are, major issues in that, because it means that, yes, operations is an umbrella term that covers different parts of the business. But, if you saw a marketing person doing finance or HR, you'd be like, what are you doing? It would ring alarm bells, right? But if you saw operations person doing a bit of finance, doing a bit of HR, probably giving them a pat on the back, clap for them and say like, good job. So you can see that by that very definition, like oftentimes operations literally just becomes anything. And that's where the inefficiencies start, when it doesn't really have its defined role in a business. So what is ops, right? Ops is not just process, but actually it's this kind of like interplay, this orchestra between like the 4 Ps, right? So your people, like who's executing the task, who's making decisions in the business, the processes, as you know, like what are these activities, the platforms that we're using, and the props as well. So operations is when you take all those 4 parts and you're able to make them work together, you're able to connect them properly. That's when you can truly say you've got good operations in it. I always liken it to the human body, but we'll get into that soon. So what is the value of operations? Like why do we focus on this thing? And oftentimes, because operations it's not sexy, as people say, they just think it's something that kind of gets done in the background, but marketing and sales is where the fun is, right? But no, operations like affects like literally 60% of the business, right? The 30%, which is like your core logistical supply chain operations, and the other 30%, which is tied to your marketing and sales, like operations has a direct impact at the get-go about more than half of your business. So when you optimize operations, you optimize your business, your workflows are smoother, people are happier, customer complaints go down, you start to save more costs, right? So I always view, when a founder starts thinking about operations, I always view that as a checkpoint that, oh, they're maturing. Like they're starting to see it is actually not just about making money, but it's about making money well and retaining money as well. So next up, this was a LinkedIn post I made a while ago, but I just felt like it served its purpose well. So I view operations as both like the heart and the blood, right? It's this organ that's pumping blood throughout the body. It's ensuring that the body's staying upright, but it's the blood as well, because the blood is flowing to every organ, like go into finance, go into marketing, go into HR, bring in necessary information, bringing necessary resources and nutrients for like all of the organs to do what they need to do. So ops flows through the entire business and ensures that the business can do what it needs to do. So that's the importance of it. And I think this slide kind of like brings it all together, right? So in any business, right, there are four key drivers of growth, or there are four kind of pillars that you need if you want to say, you know, I'm growing a business. You need, you know, those functions that help you generate revenue, right? So this is like customer acquisition, retaining customers. So your typical marketing, your sales, your BD, customer success, which is a very proactive way of your customer support teams like trying to add value. Maybe you're developing your products in a way that you know is going to have a direct correlation to sales, or maybe you're increasing your partnerships and alliances, right? You're also protecting that revenue that you fought so hard to generate. So ensuring that everything that's going out is of good quality, ensuring that you've got a great customer support that can react very quickly to any issues that arise, ensuring that you are compliant and you're following all legal guidelines so you don't get sued or anyone comes to try and fine you. Then next you have these functions that actually enable the revenue generation in the first place. So that's your tech stack. That's you having a good view of the customer experience like that. That's HR, that's having great data. And then you have what allows you to enable profit as well. So, you know, cost management, budget control, ensuring that your supply chain is more optimized. So oftentimes, what everyone can do right now is look at this and see that, oh, most of you are probably over-indexed on your revenue generation, and you don't really have many things that are protecting that revenue, protecting customers from spilling out. You don't really have things that are really boosting whatever it is that you're doing to generate the revenue, or you don't have things that are really ensuring that that revenue is turning into profit as well, right? Like you're making 100K, but you're losing like 150K as well. And as you can see, there's so much that goes on, and operations have a hand in every single one of those pillars. And that's why it's so important to get this piece right. That's why it's so important to not just see it as this thing that happens in the back. It's just processes, but no, operations is the backbone of your business. It's what turns you from kind of like a money-making machine to an actual scalable, growing, sustainable business, right? So, and as you can see, I'm passionate about operations. I've been in it for like 8 years. Peter Drucker, like some of you may have heard of him, some of you may not. He's known as like the father of modern management. And there's this great quote where he says, you know, growth that adds volume without improving productivity is just fat. And any growth that diminishes productivity is a cancer to the business. And one thing that I often say is that, you know, growth can actually be the worst thing that happens to you in your business when you don't have that operational structure. It starts to break the business from within. So, for example, let's say you spend all your time not trying to improve the customer experience, not trying to put great processes and systems in play, but simply trying to go viral, or simply trying to increase your followers. And let's say that works and you get good at that, or a celebrity posts about your business, and suddenly you have 1,000 people that have now come in and are trying to order your products. That will quickly break your business. That will quickly ruin all the hard work that you've put into the business to get to that point. So when you don't have structure and you chase growth, so like that quote said, when that growth is not also coming with efficiency, when that growth is not coming with the structure that you need to be productive, it's just fat. It's not doing anything for you. It's just making the business move slower, actually. And over time, that growth becomes the very cancer like for the business. So you see that ops is not just a thing, it's not just stuff, it's what allows you to say, I'm growing. It's what allows you to actually enjoy the growth that's coming into the business. So as I say, unsustainable growth is when you don't have that solid operational structure. What happens? You get overextended resources. People, including yourself, start to get burnt out. You can't maintain the same quality output in your value proposition, whether it's a product or your service. Customers start to complain. You start to make very risky moves in the business that backfire on you. But when you do have that operational structure, you now have scalability, you now have flexibility, and you now have adaptability as well. So one of the first tips, like the 3 key things that you're focusing on when growing, is controlled scaling. You want to ensure that what you're doing was on purpose, not just by mistake. You want to be flexible to scale up or scale down based on how the market is responding to, your marketing tactics. And you want to stay consistent, right? If you're growing and you can't account for one of these 3 things, the bits that you can't account for, the bits that are going to come and bite you. And they're going to be the bits that become the cancer in the business. The other thing that isn't on this slide, but I probably think is worth talking about now, when you're thinking about growing your business operationally, there are 2 rules of scaling and 1 golden rule of growing, right? So when you're scaling, you are either trying to do more with the same, so a greater output with the same input, or you are trying to do the same, but with less. So same output, same revenue, but you're spending less to do it, or you're using less processes or like less time to do it. Those are the 2 rules of scaling. When it's growth, you do more to get more. So you hire someone, spend more money in order so that they can, go out and win more work for you. So that's often how agencies grow. But I always feel like it's important to say that, because what happens is a lot of us say we're scaling when we're not actually scaling, we're growing. So we're applying like growth strategies to things that should be scalable, and things that are scalable like shouldn't necessarily fall into the remit of growing as well. One of the case studies in this, right? So all of us here or either have businesses right now or are aspiring to start on businesses, right? And everybody would love to see this, like people queuing outside, your store. You've done D2C well. Hey, you've even raised like 65.7 million, right? Like you've got 21 investors. Like life is going great. You've got almost like 500,000 followers on Instagram. But this is actually a case study that where growth doesn't work. This same brand like had multiple reports of bankruptcy after. So how do you go from this to this, like in just a few years, right? And as you can see, I think they had about over 64 million in venture capital, or 65, I think it was on the previous slide. They were growing rapidly, right? They had poor inventory management. So they had 2 million in unsold inventory. And something that I've seen like a lot, and I say a lot, is when you make inventory or supply chain related decisions, sometimes you lock away your money because you haven't made that decision in a great and a viable way. So I've seen like lots of brands where they've got 200K, 300K, 400K, 500K in just inventory that's not moving, that it's not selling fast enough. So they're quickly becoming illiquid, and bills are coming up and everything. Sorry. The other thing is they didn't allocate their funds properly. So there was no real sense of operational budgeting, especially when you paired it with high customer acquisition costs as well. They had stores, but they still had a $19 million annual loss as well, because once again, they didn't have great operational systems. And I think was a few years ago, they were just running out of runway as well. Some of us, this may feel like the position that we're in right now. Some of us, it may be like a warning towards the future, but this is what happens when you don't have ops. So this is a case study. I'm not sure if the slides will be shared, but hopefully, go research them. They're called Outdoor Voices as well. So now to get to the value add pieces of this, of which I hope everything I've said so far has been value add. Mastering operations for an effective workflow, right? Why do you want to master it? Well, 1, it reduces friction, it reduces waste in the business, and you get a more effective workflow. So by effective workflow, it means whatever was meant to happen is happening in the right way with the right people at the right time. Your task completed in time, your resources, your staff members, even if it's just you, they're happy you're doing the job. They don't feel burnt out. They don't feel like I did this thing in 2 steps, but I did it again and it took me 5 steps. And then I did it again, I actually did it in like 3 steps. That consistency starts to come. And once you get the consistency, you start to reduce the errors as well. So you get the time saving, you get the cost efficiency, you get the boost in the team morale as well. So how do you actually get to this point where you're starting to have an effective workflow? Well, I'd say there are 4 main steps to mastering. The first is you map it, right? Operations must always start as a very visual element. It should always start as a hands-on thing. Get a big piece of paper, get a whiteboard, and I'll show you a few strategies on how to do this, and map it out. Because oftentimes when you can see your business visually, the problems or the inefficiencies become glaringly obvious. And it's not the ones that you already know, it's like the ones that you didn't know were causing the issue anyway. It just becomes like so much more clearer when it's written down and you're trying to draw a line from this and seeing, oh, there's nowhere for this activity to feed into, or there's nothing that actually tells this activity when to start. Or actually the person that's involved here is getting no communication because there's nothing there to facilitate that communication. That happens when you actually map it out. Once you've mapped it out, you've seen what's working, what's not working, you can now actually start to standardize things and make them repeatable. Once you achieve standardization, that's the only point where you are allowed to even start having the conversation about automation, because you don't want to automate rubbish, right? You want to automate good things. And once you do that, you start tracking. So those are 4 key steps. What does it look like? So the first is you want to document your business processes. You're looking for bottlenecks. So those are things where they are stopping a lot of other things happening. You want to look for redundancies. So redundancies are parts of the process that are no longer needed, but are still playing a part in there anyway. And anything that just seems long-winded can be simplified. The 2 things that I would encourage everyone to learn how to do, and literally you will find YouTube videos on this, watch it for 10 minutes, have a go at it. Process mapping with swim lanes, right? So each swim lane will represent like a different part. So maybe what the customer is doing, maybe what finance is doing, what operations is doing, what HR is doing. You map out where the process starts, what it feeds into, where decisions need to be made, and where the process ends. And you take each kind of like key process. So like, for example, if you're a standard e-commerce business, one of the first things that you do is you decide what's the process of me even choosing where my raw materials or my raw ingredients come from. And you start to map out all the players in that system and you draw the interlinks between them. And sometimes it becomes glaringly obvious that, oh, there's nothing linking these two. The next bit on my right that I suggest you research is something called a service blueprint. And I tell you, like, this is like one of my most used, if not the most used, like frameworks that I've been using from like corporate into the work I do with clients right now. And what the service blueprint does is I say it kind of contextualizes your process. So it looks at the customer journey, first of all, and it builds around that. So it basically says, okay, at this point in the customer journey, maybe pre-purchase, at the awareness phase where, they've just learned about your business, they're starting to become interested in it. How are they interacting with the business, right? So if you imagine yourself in a theater, and the actors are now talking to you. So there's the only like line, there's like an invisible line where they're breaking through to talk to you, which they normally don't do. And then what happens behind the curtain, behind the scenes, the things that you can't see, but are allowing that interaction between you and the customer. And then it says, what is supporting those things behind the scenes to even happen anyway? So it makes you start at the customer journey and it makes you start to map things out in relation to the customer. Because oftentimes we will just build our processes, but they have no link to the customer in the journey. They're not helping the customer move on to the next stage of the journey. They're not helping the customer receive a great experience. It's just a step that we think has to be done. But when you can hold it up towards the customer journey, then you're actually optimizing your business to make your customers happy. And the point of business is to go out, get customers, keep them in the business by giving them a great customer experience as well. So these two frameworks are great things for you guys to learn how to use. The next is standardizing. So some of you may or may not have heard about standard operating procedures, which are SOPs, but it's essentially like a document that lists out how a process should be done. It's a repeatable step, or like a recipe for the process. And what happens is once you have an SOP, you now have something to refer to. You now have something that when you are onboarding people, they can pick up that document rather than, you know, you giving them a quick tutorial on how to do this, but there's no documentation and it's all just kind of like on vibes and stuff. But this actually ensures that they have something repeatable to follow. So you can either do a SOP in a step-by-step format, you can do it in a step and a sub-step format, or if you're much more visual, you can list them out as flowcharts as well. And you know, different people have different ways of writing SOPs, but I agreed with this diagram that the 5 elements you should have is what's the purpose of this process? Because some of us are doing activities that have no purpose in the business. What actual procedures? What's in the scope? Like, what does this process cover? And what does this process not cover? Which starts to tell you, oh, I don't have something in place for that. Who's actually involved in this process? Who's responsible? And who signs off? And or how do you know that the process is now like complete, or how do you know it's done the right thing? If you literally have one page and you go through these things and you write it down, then at least you have something to base those improvements off of. So as you've seen, we've mapped out the processes, we've identified what's worked and what's not, and we built our new workflow that we're happy with. And then we turn that workflow into an easy to read standardized document. Now we can start talking about automations. So why do we want to automate? We want to automate because there are repetitive things in the business that probably take too much time, and we know someone else could be doing it and we could go focus on doing other things in the business. You can automate like so many different areas, but I listed out these 5 areas to at least maybe, you know, start off with. So the first is customer service. Where you want to try and get like a chatbot on your website that is answering customer questions. And it's not just about answering customer questions. Remember I said customer support is reactive and customer success is proactive, right? So sometimes you have a chatbot that when a customer, you know, spends more than 30 seconds on this page, the bot starts speaking to them about something else. Or when a customer maybe puts something in a basket, the bot says, hey, well, seeing as you got this hat, we think it would go great with these trainers, right? Or even the automated FAQs. And when someone is searching for something, or based on like based on the inquiry that the customer is making, the AI in your customer service like platform, customer success platform, will be able to identify what FAQ might be able to help that. And the reason why you want to do that, right, is you don't want your customer support team only firefighting, only solving issues. You actually want them playing their part in driving revenue and giving people a great experience. So I would much rather that a CS agent is calling up clients or emailing clients that they've seen maybe haven't bought in a while, or maybe there was an abandoned cart, and maybe rather than sending an email, there's a phone call that goes out to them and say, hey, we saw you left this. By the way, like you know, so many people are like having great results from, I don't know, like this beard oil or something like that. And oftentimes that in-person communication can be the reason why they actually go back and make the sale. Anyway, the next bit is more back office thing, but invoice and payments, as you know, you want to automate that where possible. Inventory management. This is the one that everyone, I think, well, most people sleep on. When you have control over your inventory, you have better outcomes for overall profitability. It means you are less at risk of overstocking on items that will not sell, and you are more optimized to have your high frequency selling items on hand, continuously generating revenue for you and not stocking out. Like, I personally don't like it when I see, out of stock, because it's a sign that, either maybe you just didn't have the capital, but more so, it's missed opportunity. Because if your marketing engine is working well, someone's obviously come to you to buy, you don't have it. So some people hold it up as a badge of honor, and it's great like when it shows demand, but it's not great when the demand is trying to like demand from you and you can't service it. The next is marketing. So what ARW stands for is acquisition, retention, or win back. I believe at any given time, your marketing, whether it's your marketing team, whether it's just you or you got like an intern or whatever, should be doing one of those three things: acquiring customers, retaining customers, or winning back customers, right? How do you bring about automations in that? And I'll talk about that soon. And then the next is the general workflow. Oh, sorry. Oh, well, I forgot to re-edit that bit, but that's just like your day-to-day tasks and how to increase efficiency in that, how to automate things going on. So next, I tried to make a table of different softwares I think would be worth you guys looking into when it comes to automation. So when we go to customer service, my personal favorite, although it's a bit more on the expensive side, but like people have great experiences with it, is Gorgeous. I think they're their class is like one of the golden kind of like software. So like you have your Gorgeous, then you have like a Klaviyo, then you have maybe a Recharge for your subscriptions, and maybe you have like a Snowflake for your influence and like affiliate links. But Gorgeous is great. Zendesk is great as well. I've heard of Intercom and Freshdesk. I've never used it, but you want to ensure that you've got a good customer success platform, and you want those AI-powered chatbots. You want the live chat. You want automated messaging where possible, so that as you scale, it's easier for you to keep answering questions. It's easier for you to stop the flood of emails coming in. Because, like for example, if you can really get a good system where the AI is answering a lot of things, then it means that your customer service agent can either deal with 50 opportunities or 50 complaints, and you want them dealing with opportunities more. So invoicing and payments. I mean, I've seen most people use Xero. QuickBooks is there and it's good, and I think more financial accountants are in a better place to say it, but I use Xero personally and it does the job for me. Inventory management. So you can get away with a great spreadsheet, right? And for one of my clients, like, and we developed this spreadsheet over time, but yeah, beard surgeon, I would say. So I designed a spreadsheet where I looked at, all of the inventory that they had at each one of their kiosks and their storage sites. The spreadsheet allowed their assistant to basically plug data in. Like, so, once a week they do like an inventory check, plug it in, tells you what the sell-through rate is, tells you what a good safety stock level is, tells you when you need to reorder it. And it all kind of culminates into this one big master spreadsheet that tells you how much you need to order, when should you start thinking about ordering, do you need faster shipping than you're currently using, and by the time this stock arrives, how much stock would you have burnt through anyway? And by the time this stock arrives, based on what you're forecasting your sales to be for the next, like, I think 4 or 5 months, how long will this new batch of stock realistically last you? So by the time, like before you've even run out of stock, you already know how much stock to order, when to order it, and ideally how long that stock is going to last you for the next restock. So you're kind of like you're thinking 2 restocks ahead, and that way you're not falling into these issues. Stocky is another one, but I think it's when if you guys use Shopify, when you move on to Shopify Pro, I think you get Stocky for free. And it's kind of like the spreadsheet, but a bit more automated. Still takes a bit of tweaking, but it's there. Sin7 is another system that I've used. It is a bit pricey. Those could be like £300, £400, £500 a month, something like that. But I think Sin7 is when you have maybe multiple fulfillment centers, or maybe you're really doing a lot of like cross-border fulfillment, maybe in the UK and in France and maybe in America or, you know, South Africa or something like that. Trade Gecko, I can't remember where Trade Gecko comes from, but that's another one for you guys to look into as well. Some other software. So marketing, you've got your Meta Business Manager or Facebook Business Manager. So in there, obviously you can schedule your posts out, you can respond to people, you can manage your ads within that. Most of you should ideally have come across it. You've got Buffer, you've got Hootsuite as well um, that allows you to schedule your posts, and you've got Canva Pro. I've never used it. I've seen it. I've seen the option to, but I think you can schedule stuff out from Canva, so you can design and schedule it out from there as well. Email, Klaviyo, MailChimp, OmniSend, probably you guys have seen it, but in there, you can actually have like all your segmentations. So, you know, for example, using bed surgeon is another one. You know, let's say they want to send certain emails to all the customers that maybe have shopped at the kiosk, but maybe not online yet, or vice versa. So being able to use AI to create that segment in Klaviyo, create a segmentation for it, and then set specific flows or specific emails to go for each of those things. And that's all happening automatically, saves a lot of time. And email, as you guys know, is another place where people make a lot of revenue from. So I would say marketing and sales, primary, right? Email, like secondary. Customer success, your tertiary one, like customer success, you should also see that team as revenue drivers for you, as well as revenue like protectors as well. And then finally, there are things like Trello, but I personally don't like Trello, but it works for some people. But I use Asana. Like I swear by Asana. I love how it helps me automate my tasks. I love how I can set subtasks. I love how I can see different views. I love how I can make dashboards as well. So that's a really great task management software that I use. I use Notion, but I use Asana a lot more. Zapier or Zapier, how people say it. It's something I haven't used personally, but I've seen great case studies on it, where it basically just allows you to hook up different parts, different systems and automate things. So for example, if you got a Zapier integration that says, oh, when someone signs up to this page, send them an email. If they respond to that email, send them a link to this Google Drive thing to onboard them properly, and so on and so forth. So you can really use Zapier to do a lot. If you're
Sorry,
really
Rohan, just to say there's 10 minutes left.
cool, I knew I'd waffle. Yes, Microsoft Automate and IFTTT. If this then that. So research those things. Now I'm gonna rush you guys. So next is the 3 golden rules of automation. I won't go through the subtext, but the first is you want to automate whatever is repetitive and time consuming first. That's where your first priority is. The next is, before you even automate it, you need to clean up the system itself. Otherwise, you're just going to automate junk. And then you want to continuously monitor and measure and continuously improve that. And then finally, remember I said there were 4 things to do to master workflow. You just want to follow this 4-step process. Identify opportunities to improve a process, plan out how you're going to improve it, execute it, and review how what execution went for you, and just keep going over that cycle. So maybe once a month or once every 2 months, you take 2 hours to just review your processes as well. Cool. So let's talk about outsourcing operations, right? 3 quick points on each. You outsource when you're feeling like you're being stretched thin. You outsource when you feel you don't have the specialization in that area. And you outsource when you realize you're not able to focus on core business activities that are directly tied to your value proposition, right? I won't go for the benefits because you should just feel the benefit. I wanted to talk about when not to outsource operations as well. Different people may feel differently towards this, but when the core competency of what you do, like the main source of what you do, I feel be very careful about outsourcing that. That's the main quality driver of the business. That's why people come. So you want to have as much control over that as possible. If you don't have a clear process, don't outsource or don't have a conversation. Don't bring someone in to a system that's not there. Otherwise, it's just going to exaggerate the problem more. And probably don't outsource when the thing you're doing requires like frequent communication and real-time feedback and back and forth like dialogue, because then you outsource so you could be freed up to go do something else, but you're spending all your time talking over and over again. So rather at that point, find out how you can do it in a more scalable way, or find out if you can bring that more in-house as well. So key insights when it comes to wholesale. So some of you may be thinking about this right now. Different operational strategies are, how do you deal with the larger volume? How do you deal with the pricing? Do you like moving from a margin-based pricing to like maybe a markup-based pricing as well? And I think I put these like 1, 2, 3, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. When you're going from D2C to wholesale, you want to do it when you feel that you've got a strong brand and when you feel you've got great customer demand. If you don't have that, you're already like in the danger zone. You want to do it when you feel like your supply chain is scalable and stable. And sometimes this may mean you having one supplier and a backup supplier just in case one supplier goes down the drain, nothing's going to stop that. You want to do it when you feel that your D2C channels have plateaued, like you're not really seeing the exponential growth you used to see. When you want to expand in the market, but you feel that maybe D2C is not as great in this country versus that country. And when you feel like you've got really good operational efficiency within the business as well. So I left a checklist here, and I think these slides will be shared, or the recording will be there. There's a seven-step checklist for like ensuring that you're ready for wholesale. I won't go through all of them, but it just allows you to assess if you've got the right pricing structure, if you've got the right bodies in the supply chain, if you've got the right marketing materials, and maybe you need to now open up a wholesale portal on your website as well. Allows you to really assess if you've got the fulfillment capabilities to do that. And I just noticed another mistake. Sorry guys, I was really rushing this to make it. I was trying to pack as much in to this. And ensure that you've got great terms and conditions for your wholesale buyers as well. So there's a checklist, and I think if you follow it, then you'll be in a good place. So right before the Q&A, here's another case study. So do you have a process for digital assets? Okay, cool. I'll get to that. So here's another case study just to see how someone else has done it. By all means, go and research them, but they were initially focused on D2C, and as I showed there, they saw that they start to have that good branding and great customer demand, and they wanted to capitalize on that. And they saw an opportunity to go into wholesale. Funny thing is, American Apparel, right? They actually moved from wholesale into D2C, so it works both ways. When you feel like loads of wholesalers are buying the stuff, then you're like, well, I might as well do it myself as well, right? They partnered with artisans in Costa Rica to scale up production. They had a wholesale specific strategy where I think they built a new platform. They built a completely new catalog. They adjusted their pricing model, and they started like developing more partnerships and trying to like appear in more marketplaces. So there's a wholesale kind of like platform called Fair, and that basically allowed them to connect to like thousands of retailers that they were targeting. And then the overall outcome is that, yeah, they were able to like sell, thousands in retail stores as well. So I think what's happening, especially in the D2C world, is I think a lot of people currently are feeling the downturn, and a lot of people currently are feeling the pinch, and things are going quiet. It's always a good opportunity to explore wholesale. It's always a good opportunity to explore different elements of this whole entire omni-channel experience. And the reason why I reference Beard Surgeon a lot, like I've worked with so many different people, but I think why I think those guys are special is what they've done is they've done it offline. Like, and I don't know when this thing happened, but I feel like because this whole digital expansion evolution came, I felt like everyone just forgot how to be offline once again. The concept of postcards through the door kind of went away. the concept of just stopping someone on the street or walking by and be like, have you seen this product? Stopping someone on a train, popping up here, popping up there, going to fairs. I feel like they really did this, and they've seen great success, like on their kiosks. And also, some of you may be thinking, oh, should I go into Tesco? Should I go into Sainsbury's? I think trying to open up a kiosk is a great way for you to know if you're ready for retail, because it's smaller scale. It allows you to know if you have a good enough pitch to stop someone like that, had no dealings with you, and encourage them to actually want to buy from you. And it teaches you how to be a better salesperson anyway. And it teaches you physical, visual merchandising, and you start to like learn human psychology a lot more because you're interacting with people like over and over and over and over and over again. So I think now is a great time, if you guys are feeling that pinch, to really explore both online and offline options, both D2C and wholesale options as well. Affiliates, like and even in that, right, I think a lot of us are trying to get into retail a lot. We're trying to get into the Selfridges, we're trying to get into the Tesco's and the Sainsbury's. But what about the hotels? Like, what about the golf clubs? What about the spas? Like, where? Because the answer, sorry, now I'm going too much, but the key thing is, I think we over prioritized the channel over the actual goal. The goal was just to get to the customer, regardless of the method, right? If you know your customers, take the number 63 bus route, then stand at that bus stop, like, and just talk to people there. If you know your customers play golf, get a golf membership, talk there. If you know your customers, for your skincare products are really, really, really big on fitness, hang around gyms, like, rather than trying to get into Tesco, like, try and get into Third Space, try and get into Pure Gym, try and get into these boutique gyms. Like, just think about where are these customers and just say, how can I be there, rather than trying to idolize the channel, like customer first and then channel second. But yeah, sorry, waffled on, but hopefully we can go into the Q&A right now.
Yeah, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Rohan. That was such a compelling presentation, and I know it gave us all so much to think about. I have a couple of questions myself, but let's start. Guys, start putting your Q&A, your questions into the chat, because there's a little section for Q&A, so you can all get your questions answered. Augusta has asked, do you have a process for digital assets such as courses?
I have like I have ebooks that I'm trying to do now, but I do know someone that is great at digital assets, but I think it's still it's still the same thing. Do you mean for making it, or do you mean for selling it? So if you could expand it, then I'll know how to answer that properly.
I think Augusta said before she runs a service business. I might be wrong. Yeah, she does she's a financial literacy coach for young people and parents. So she
Okay,
must
cool.
sell courses. Is that right, Augusta?
So this is for selling, right?
Yeah, she said yeah.
I think a tool or a framework that I use this, and I think I'll always use it to the day I die, is the AIDA framework. And if you know me, like I talk about this all the time. It stands for awareness, interest, the
Desire.
and action. Yeah, thank you. And what I do basically is I split them out, and I say, how do I make someone aware of me online? And how do I make someone aware of me offline, right? I'm going to put in another model for you. It's called a peso model. And on the online channels, I say, okay, what paid media can I use here? What earned channels can I use here? What shared channels can I use? What about my own media? And I basically have this grid, and I go through each stage, and I have a much more robust kind of like game plan of what I'm doing online and offline to make people aware, to make people interested in what I'm trying to sell, to make people desire after it. And like literally to the point where I'm literally using this now, because like I'm not pivoting, but I'm trying to step into a new area, and I'm building my whole strategy around around this, right? And if I've got it, if I've got it somewhere else, I'll try and share it. If not, like, speak to me, I'll try and say that. But I think if you use those two things, you'll be in a much better position. And then the other thing is, right, is you want a high converting landing page. So I think we put too much pressure on our websites to sell. Your landing page has nothing else other to do than to sell. So whatever you're doing, whether once you've got a good lead magnet or hook, direct them to the landing page whose job it is to convert. So everything that you're doing in the AIDA, that peso, like make sure it's flowing into a landing page, not necessarily your website. But yeah.
Cool. I hope that answered your question, Augusta. Amanda said, which fundamental processes or workflows are best to consider during the pre-launch phase? She's got a product for e-commerce.
So I think pre-launch is there's I forgot what it's called, but there are three things you want to do before pre-launch. You want to assess for desirability, viability, and feasibility, right? So your processes should be there to test, for example, feasibility. Can it be made? So do I have the right processes to ensure that the value I'm making, I can show up when it needs to show up? What the process is for viability? How do I sell this? What's the right pricing model? Is it a loss maker? Is it a loss leader? Is it extremely profitable? Are there high margins? And then the desirability aspects of it is what's my process for actually establishing desirability? What's my process for marketing, for sales, for even language, like ensuring that I'm using the right language? And oftentimes I've seen that language has often been the barrier between the sale. Like not even your thing does what it needs to do. It answers the need, it solves the problem, but you're just not speaking in the right way. And it's not something you should leave to chance. It's something that should be quite like operational, that comes through data and feedback. So I'd say if you could build your processes around desirability, ensuring that desirability, ensuring viability, and ensuring feasibility, that will help you at pre-launch to understand what your launch like needs to look like based on how people are responding at that. But yeah.
I hope that was helpful, Amanda. Guys, if you have any other questions, make sure you keep dropping them in the chat. I have a question just about Chat GPT. So you listed your really helpful list of automations a few slides ago. I just had a question about Chat GPT because everyone talks about it for marketing and how it can kind of automate a lot, especially for copy for small businesses. So I wondered if you had any particular uses for it for operations.
Yeah, honestly, ChatGPT is like my associate, right? Because it's all about the prompts that you put in. So when I'm trying to think of something, I will ask ChatGPT like, oh, I'm trying to establish a value chain for this sort of model. I think the people should be organized this way, but here are the challenges. Like, create me 5 different potential operating models that I can like have a think around. And obviously, it's pulling this information from the entirety of the world. So it's allowing me to do that research much faster. And then I'm having this kind of like ongoing conversation like, okay, well, what if we did this? Actually, you know what? This business struggles with that. Based on my experience, like this might work, but have you seen like any other alternatives to do this? And I literally have conversations like with Chat GPT, and that allows me with my modeling, that allows me to understand like what things I may or may not have missed as well. So yeah, I use it a lot. It helps in operations a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. I'm definitely guilty of. I remember when you said a few slides ago, what did you say? Some people's operations are just running on vibes. And I was like, I feel personally attacked because I'm guilty of that. But yeah, this has been an incredible masterclass. If anyone has any extra questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat just before we finish. I'm also just gonna share my screen for 1 second, because hope you guys can all see this. We'd love to know your thoughts on this masterclass. If you scan the QR code, there's a really short feedback form where you can tell us what you liked, what you loved, anything that you'd like to know more about. What we're going to do at the end of this whole masterclass series is basically compile all of your feedback and put it together in a really handy case study, just so we know how well we're doing and what other support you could really benefit from. So this is going to be really, really valuable feedback. Scan the QR code just there. It's on the screen now. I know many of you, so I will be DMing you personally if you don't fill it in. And I'll also fill in, I'll follow up with the link tomorrow, as well as the recording of this session, because this is being recorded. So I'll just give you some time to do that. Adidapo has asked, what is the most important step in operations?
Yeah, it was that first step. It's mapping it out. I think obviously as a lot of you know, there's always like 50 things at any given time you could be doing in your business, and sometimes it all kind of just like falls on top of you. But when you just get a big piece of paper and just map out what you think this whole system looks like, you're automatically in a better place to make a better operational decision. So the most important step is drawing it out and visualizing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I found it all really interesting, but it's particularly the way you broke it down, the map it, standardize it, automate it, and track it. As soon as I get the chance, I'm going to go back through all of our own operations and see what can be improved there.
Cool. I mean, I need to do that. I mean, I think I'm guilty of not doing the track a bit because it upsets my thing. So I just think I'm doing it consistently, but I should actually put something in my calendar that no one's allowed to speak to me. I'm just reviewing every process and I'm looking for the gaps as well. But yeah, honestly,
Is it
these are
something, oh,
yeah,
sorry. Is it something that you should review regularly?
yeah, because it's like I always take it as like a relationship, right? I think the best relationships or the best marriages are the intentional ones. And you've seen these things where people go on like dates to do a financial planning session, and people go on these very intentional things, but those are often the ones that are very like high performing relationships, right? So I think when you put that in, and it means you're serious about this thing, because the process is how you deliver value. And if you're not delivering your value in the right way, you're missing the opportunity anyway. So the big corporates like do this thing, they pay like hundreds of thousands to bring in like consultants like me to just do this, like because they know it plays such a huge part in what they do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, very well put. Amanda says, do you provide one-to-one sessions?
It depends. It depends what a one-to-one session is, but I'm trying to do more of that. I'm trying to like do some more office hours. But yes, I do. I try to do like these 20-minute strategy calls where we're both on a whiteboard, because oftentimes strategy call is like someone just talking to you and they're just like throwing words at you, and you leave it like, oh, what did I leave with? Nothing. But I always try to ensure that we've come to a whiteboard together and we've thrown sticky notes and we've like tried to work through something together, so that at least you feel you have something tangible to go off of, like with or without me. Because I feel like if you pour enough value out there, like it'll always come back to you anyway. So like, what is it? What does 20 minutes hurt? That 20 minutes could like be valuable for the next 3 months for someone else. Like, wow, that stuff in that.
Yeah. Um, this has been a really good masterclass. Thank you, Pat, for filling in the feedback form. Yes, I did. I'll get back to you tomorrow, most likely. If you haven't filled in the feedback form just yet, just scan the QR code real quick. And it's now 7 p.m. So I'll be letting you enjoy your evening. This has been really good. Thank you so much, Rohan. And you guys will be hearing from me with the recording tomorrow, most likely. So enjoy your evenings and take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.